Gestern habe ich mit Getreide geschafft. So viel Staub. Erst muss ich Masken anlegen. Ja, ich bin einmal in der Woche beim Vater auf den Hof. Und er hat so mega viele Maschinen zum Getreide reinigen, mahlen, verarbeiten. Und gestern habe ich Weizen gereinigt. Boah, ich habe das Gefühl, ich bin gerade in Indien gesehen. Staub. Das habe ich mir auch schon überlegt, ja. Ja, heute müssen wir Getreide reinigen. Sorry, Papi, aber heute ist ein Kaderschein. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Haribol 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Haribol Jai Om Vishwapad Paramahamsa Paribraj Acharya Ashtottara Shata Shishimadis Divine Grace Shila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada All glories to the Assembly All glories to the Assembly All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga All glories to Srila Prabhupada Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Namo Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Cheva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Lord Rishabhadev's teachings, text 29. So we have a prose, I will just read through, we can do word for word together. Chadanda Mukha Badhira Pisha Chunma Da Kavat Avadhuta Vesho Pibhyashyamano Pi Jananam Grihita Mona Bratas Tushnim Babhuva. Word for word translation. Jada, idle. Andha, blind. Mukha, dumb. Badhira, deaf. Pishacha, ghost. Unmadaka, a madman. But, like. Avadhuta Veshaha, appearing like an avadhuta, having no concern with the material world. Abhibhashamanaha, being thus addressed as deaf, dumb and blind. Api, although, Jananam, by the people, Grihita, took, Mona, of silence, Vrataha, the vow, Tushnim Babhuva, he remained silent. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. After accepting the feature of Avadhuta, a great saintly person without material cares, Lord Rishabdev passed through human society like a blind, deaf and dumb man, an idle stone, a ghost or a madman. Although people called him such names, he remained silent and did not speak to anyone. Purport. The word Avadhuta refers to one who does not care for social conventions, particularly the Varnashrama Dharma. However, such a person may be situated fully within himself and be satisfied with the Supreme Personality of Godhead on whom he meditates. In other words, one who has surpassed the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma is called Avadhut. Such a person has already surpassed the clutches of Maya, and he lives completely separate and independent. End of purport. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayang Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatang Vitang Twang Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadutang Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devang Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha He Krishna Kala Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatyadeshatarine. After accepting the feature of Avadhut, a great saintly person without material cares, Lord Rishabdev passed through human society like a blind, deaf and dumb man, an idle stone, a ghost or a madman. Although people called him such names, he remained silent and did not speak to anyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, after Rishabdev spoke the teachings to his sons, now he's leaving that place and he's acting as an avadhut. And Srila Prabhupada explains what's an avadhut in the purport. Especially he says that an avadut is one who does not care for social conventions, particularly the Varnashram Dharma. There's a few examples in our scriptures of avadutas. Anyone comes to your mind? Yes, we were just chanting Sadvaitam Savadutam, and that refers to Nityananda. Nityananda. Nityananda is not just some avaduta, he is called Avadhuta Shiromani. Shiromani means the crest jewel, meaning he's the best of all avadutas. There's a beautiful prayer, maybe we can recite it together. It's very simple, so we can learn it in a few seconds. Nityananda, maybe you can repeat. Nityananda Maham Nomi. Nityananda Maham Nomi. Nityananda Maham Nomi. Sarvananda Karam Param. Sarvananda Karam Param. Sarvananda Karam Param. Harinama Pradam Devam. Harinama Pradam Devam. Harinama Pradam Devam. Avaduta Shiromanim. Avaduta Shiromanim. Avaduta Shiromanim. Anyone can recite? Nityanandam Aham Nomi. Sarvananda Karam Param. Harinama Pradam Devam. Avaduta Shiromanim. I bow down to the Supreme Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is the awarder of the highest joy to all, the bestower of the holy name, and the crest jewel of all Paramahamsa mendicants. When Nityananda Prabhu was performing his pastimes, and we can find them in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, and he performed some activities of an avadut. Anything comes to your mind?
When he jumps into the Ganges and plays with the crocodiles.
Yes, right. Still now, maybe, but that time there were many crocodiles. Not many, maybe, but there were crocodiles in the Ganges, and Nityananda would jump into the Ganges and actually he wanted to catch the crocodile, play with the crocodile. Prabhupada speaks about the Varnashram Dharma social conventions here, and one specific pastime comes to mind, how he broke the danda of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He saw Mahaprabhu walking around with his danda, and he was so upset that how is it possible that the Supreme Lord has to carry this useless danda with him? He doesn't need to take a danda. So one time, just shortly before they came to Puri, then Mahaprabhu took a bath. Actually, this place is there. It's called Danda Banga something. It's the place where the danda was banga, broken. And Mahaprabhu went for a snan, and when he came out, the danda was broken. Nityananda Prabhu just broke it into pieces. So Mahaprabhu got so upset that he just left and he went to Puri alone. I think there's another pastime somehow with the kopin, no? There's a kopin pastime, how Nityananda, I think he took Mahaprabhu's kopin or something, tied around his head. I'm maybe speculating, but that's something in my mind. So Nityananda is in Chaitanya Bhagavata. So he's taking the kopin of Mahaprabhu. He's a very funny person, Nityananda. There is also this I have very deep in my mind. This pastime. Sometimes our Guru Maharaj, he would not sometimes, quite often, while taking prasadam, he liked that someone would read Chaitanya Charitamrita to him. And sometimes they would read in Bangla, so I would not really understand what's happening. But mostly he would have someone read in English. And I think this was in Ujjain. So I was also in the room, and this devotee was reading the pastime of Mahaprabhu, how he came back to the house of Advaita Acharya after taking sannyas. And there is a description how he was with Nityananda, and they came to Advaita Acharya, and Advaita Acharya would serve them prasadam. And Mahaprabhu, he just took sannyas, and in his whole life he came to teach the world, and especially how to live the sannyasi dharma. So he would say, chota, chota, little, tora, give me very little prasad. And Advaita Acharya, and we know through the whole pastimes of Mahaprabhu, the devotees were always suffering. Similarly to Nityananda Prabhu was suffering that he had to carry a danda. They were thinking, why is he not just taking more prasadam? He's the Lord. He's always, being controlled. But he doesn't have to, because he's the Supreme Lord. So similarly, in that instance, Advaita Acharya was pained because he wanted to serve Mahaprabhu, sumptuous prasadam in big quantity. And Nityananda Prabhu was the opposite. So there was a particular description how Advaita Acharya would serve Nityananda Prabhu, and Mahaprabhu was there. And Nityananda Prabhu said, hurry up, I'm hungry, do faster, bring more. So he would bring more and more, and he was always dissatisfied. And at one point Advaita Acharya lost it. He said, you are a madman. You are supposed to be renounced, but you are asking for so much prasadam. So they had a big argument. And at some point, Nityananda Prabhu, he took rice and threw it at Advaita Acharya. He was so upset. And then Advaita Acharya, he started to become very blissful and jump around, dance. And he said, now my life is perfect. I got the mercy of Nityananda Mahajan. And why I have it in mind, because Guru Maharaj, he would start laugh like anything. He couldn't control himself. His belly was shaking, and his shoulders, because he was so absorbed in that lila. And that comes to my mind also. There is one famous example in Bhagavatam, and it reminds also when we heard the words in this verse, Chada. It says Chadanda, Mukha, Badhira, idle, Chada. Chada Bharat. Chada Bharat used to play the part of an avadut. Bharat Maharaj, who came again as a deer, and then after being a deer, he again came as Chada Bharat. And he made a resolution that in this life I will make sure that I'm not going to fall into Maya. So he decided I will play the part of an avadut, because if I'm avadut, I don't have to intimately engage with materialistic people, which is the true danger we hear from Rupa Goswami in Upadeshamrita. From these advices he gives what to do and what not to do. In both instances he says Sangotyagat, to give up the bad association. So this is so dangerous. And Chada Bharat, he decided in this life, I'm not going to associate with anyone. And how did he do? He played the part of a madman. He would just leave. Even at home, he would behave like a disabled person, and all his family members, they would harass him. because they thought he's some, useless person who took birth in our family, and they did, harassed him. And then there was one, I don't maybe remember all the details in full, but he came into this situation where they wanted to make a sacrifice to Kali,
Yes.
and then he was supposed to be sacrificed. And he was saved by Kali herself, because she saw this a pure devotee.
The worship of others, the Kali himself have broken and came from inside of the lady and cut the
Yeah,
off
true.
everybody.
Yes, she killed everyone else and she released Chadabharat. And Chadabharat didn't care actually if he's gonna die or live. He's a Paramahamsa. But he continued to live, so he was wandering around, and he was working for a king. He was a palanquin bearer. In the ancient times, kings, they often would. There was no such thing as modern vehicles, cars, but still the kings, they are exalted personalities, so they would be transported in a different way than regular people who just had to walk. So they had these palanquins, and 4 people would hold that, or maybe 2 sometimes, and they would carry the king. And this one, when Chadabharat was helping there, then
He was actually forced to do that.
he was forced, right? There's a whole story. How was he forced? You remember?
He was walking around,
No, say?
and they saw like, oh, he has
He has a stout body, yeah.
He has to do that because, they needs, and then they forced him.
Yeah, right.
So then he didn't care. He
He wasn't good. He was somehow too much probably absorbed in Krishna consciousness, and then the king got angry.
He saw ants.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't want to step on
Right.
them, so he was always trying to avoid stepping on the ants, and then the king was like too much shaking on them.
Yeah. It's like, what's happening here?
And it's very nicely described how he stopped, and then he waited that each ant is
Yeah.
his cheek, because he didn't want to cross over the ants.
Yeah, thank you for, that's the correct reason. So the king, he started to wonder what's wrong with this fellow, and he started to insult him. I'm just gonna read a quote from Srila Bhakti Charamach, which just came in yesterday. Chadabharat was apparently looking like a fool. Externally, he just looked inert, devoid of intelligence. Externally, he looked like a perfect idiot. A perfect idiot. Actually, here it says idle, Krishna Prabhu, because in today's verse, Chada came, so Prabhupada translates as idle. Idle. Somebody who doesn't do anything. So he looked like a perfect idiot. And at first, King Rahugan could not recognize him. He became very offensive to him. But then, when Chadabharat started to speak, he immediately recognized that here is a very exalted spiritual personality. Rahugan was offensive in the beginning, but we can see that he also was a wise person. That is the advantage of being brought up in Vedic culture. Although he was a king, although he was naturally very proud of his position, and although he offended Chadabharat, he was able to recognize him as a very, very spiritually exalted personality as soon as Chadabharat started to speak. And that is why it is said that a sadhu should be seen through the ears. If we try to see a sadhu with our eyes, then we may end up being cheated. Srila Prabhupada, he says in a quote, and I'm going to read also. My Guru Maharaj, my spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, used to say that you have to select a spiritual master not by seeing, but by your ear, but by hearing. And you don't select a spiritual master who has got a very good hair or beard or some very beautiful feature. Oh, he is a very good, nice looking. No, you must hear. Tatvidi pranipatena. Shruti. The whole process is Shruti. The Vedas are called Shruti. The ear has to oral reception. So Bhakti Chamaraj was saying how if we try to see the sadhu through our eyes, like, oh, he has such a nice beard, actually just this morning there's a book lying outside, I don't know who put it there, of one, I think he's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Paramahamsa, His Divine Grace. And when I opened it, actually maybe I should not go there, but he has a big beard. And anyway, he's advertising himself as the following Acharya after Srila Prabhupada. And he's having his own line, he's outside of ISKCON, and when you open the book you see him, he's there with a big beard and long hair. So I was thinking, why has he a beard? Prabhupada never liked that. Would be interesting to ask him. But yeah, we had, as conditioned living entities, we tend to choose or appreciate someone as being good, saintly, by our external considerations. We have some value system and we think somebody is nice. It can be very gross how somebody looks, but it can also be in a more subtle way. That we come and we expect that a sadhu, a spiritual master, he's always speaking very sweet, nice words. He's always smiling at me in an encouraging, beautiful way. He's always dressed perfectly. But this is not the consideration. It might be, but it might as well not be. And why do we find these stories in Bhagavatam? What is the big lesson we can learn? That we have to be extremely careful that we don't judge from an external point of view. Like this king, he judged from an external point of view, but he actually offended Jadabharat. There is a avadut which came in a more recent time, Vamsidas Babaji. You read this book? There's a small book by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj about him. And he was a contemporary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur who would live in Navadvip. He would live, Mayapur is on this side, and then on the other side there is Navadvip, and he was mainly living there, this Vamsidas Babaji. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur knew that he is a pure devotee. And he would engage his disciples in serving him. So bringing him rice, boga, and making sure he has things he needs. And it's described that his disciples, some of them, they would regularly visit him also because they knew he's a Paramahamsa. So we know we should take association with Paramahamsa. But one day, they came back to Bhaktisiddhanta and they told him that today we went to Vamsidas Babaji, and when we came, we saw him, he had Gornitai deities, how he was throwing one of the deities with a rope around the neck into the Ganges. And he was yelling crazy words, like in an angry mood. So they came back and told to Bhaktisiddhanta that that's what we saw. So Bhaktisiddhanta told them, you stop going to him. Don't visit him anymore. He's actually a Paramahamsa and Avadut, and you will not understand. And if you don't understand, you will make offenses, so you stop going to him. Of course, this is very extreme. And in this book, it says why he did that and what was his mood. And he was completely absorbed in being a personal associate of the Lord. And so there's one pastime how he had a hut, and somebody came and stole. I think he had a very nice plate to offer boga to the deities. Again, these stories, all the deities. Somebody stole something, and Bamsidas Babaji, instead of, this thief, and he got angry with the deities. He said, why you want to eat? If you want to eat, then you better make sure this plate comes back, otherwise I'm not going to offer you any food anymore. That was his mood. So Bhaktisiddhanta said, you should take distance, don't go to him. So we have to be careful that we don't judge the pure devotee with our conditioned mindset. Otherwise we run the danger that we commit offense, which will hamper our spiritual life. And at the same time, if we learn to recognize the saintly person through the ear, then we can find out where we can really get help, where we can get Krishna consciousness. So I'm going to end here. If there's any comments, dear Krishna Prabhu, or any questions, feel free. Krishna Prabhu also, if you have a comment.
The scriptures give you many characteristics of the pure devotee also. In Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 3, chapter 25, verse 20, like the devotee described the symptoms of in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna described in the second chapter the characteristics of the pure devotee in the second chapter, 16th chapter. So the pure devotee have 26 qualities, and we can base it also on these qualities. But it's very, very difficult, according to scriptures, for one person, common person, recognize it. This first time of Prasad is very, very rare, because on the book described that in previous life he ate fish, and the fisherman, the fisher seller, pass on the streets, and this is very, very difficult for us. And he remembered of his activities. So because this put in the rope in the day, put in the water and remember. If you do this again, if you pass the fisher seller, I will put you in this condition. It's a very, very special relationship between the pure devotee and the deity. Very, very special relationship.
Yeah, this point of the scriptures giving the description of the pure devotee, the qualities that's there, so we can try to use our intellect to see who is a pure devotee. And at the same time you mentioned that still for a conditioned living soul it's difficult to actually see. And Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, he said, the pure devotee can only be seen when he reveals himself. Similar to Krishna, no? If he chooses to reveal himself, then one can see. so we can pray also to the Lord that He please reveal the pure devotee to us, because we will not be able to, by our own endeavors, simply see the pure devotee. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also speaks about this in this concept of the seer and the seen, that we are not the masculine principle, we are feminine, we are meant to be seen by God and also by the pure devotee, by the saint. So if we have this mood that let me be seen by the pure devotee, and when the pure devotee sees us, then we can also, we get a revelation from him. So we should act in a way, that's the message, we should act in a way that the pure devotee wants to see us. Not that I try to make some intellectual speculation and I move around, where is the, this is not the way. The way is through devotion. I'm going to see the pure devotee by him revealing himself to me.
Especially based in rules, regulations, in material morality. If you have this concept, the pure devotee is beyond of the
Yeah.
rules,
Yeah.
beyond of the rules and regulation. I remember one time, this is a simple, but when Swami came to Brazil, and we are with him, and he take tilaka and interrupt the toilet and pass and all. This is not possible. How
Yes.
he can do this? The mental, the factor mentality, but after you understand how elevate consciousness they have. If you judge the consciousness of the devotee with the morality and rules, regulations, material rules and regulations, you commit a
Yes.
because this is very important. Have prudence, very prudence to approach it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a wonderful example, Prabhu. That why is he taking the tilak into the bathroom? Many examples come to my mind. And it happens, no? Young devotees, they see something like this. Just recently I heard of one devotee who left ISKCON, and one reason he lost trust was he heard that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to eat fish and goat meat before he became an acharya. I mean, he was always an acharya, but when he started to manifest the external appearance that he's now the Vaishnava acharya, and yeah, he thought he's not a pure devotee, he's not a Nitya Siddha. So we have to, and we also see pure devotees coming to this temple, exalted personalities, and we might see things which not in line of what we learned in the Bhakta course. No, in the Bhakta course we learn, you should do like this, and that, and that. But maybe it's a little different sometimes. And it's actually a nice point that comes out now that you say, in this quote of Bhakti Charu Maharaj, he also mentions that's why it's so important, this Varnashram Dharma. So it's contradictory in a sense, because the Avaduta, he transcends the Varnashram Dharma and he neglects that. And here we have the example of Rishabdev, that from our perspective we have to be careful that even though somebody is not following, then we shouldn't make a judgment on that person. And he says that's why the culture is so important, because the Vedic culture, Varnashram Dharma, is giving everyone some basic understanding what is the goal of life, about who is a sadhu, what is a sadhu, and how to behave. And to not be proud, but to be always humble. No, he says that is the advantage of being brought up in Vedic culture. So even though the king was Rahugana, he was tempted to completely disregard Chadabharat, but although he was a king, he was naturally very proud of his position, and although he offended Chadabharat, he was able to recognize him as a very, very spiritually exalted personality as soon as Chadabharat started to speak. So the culture, the Vedic culture, is helping to that these offenses are not being, committed, and at the same time that we actually can get to understand who is a pure devotee. Also, some example comes to my mind. One time when Prabhupada was living in Allahabad, then he was a grihastha, and some of his god brothers, Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples, sannyasis, came to his home. And Srila Prabhupada's father was still alive at that time, and we know Srila Prabhupada's father, Prabhupada himself, said he was a pure devotee. And he was quite old at that time, and when Gaur Mohan saw these sannyasis coming, he left. He went to his room. So Srila Prabhupada went to tell him, please come, we have some guests. And he was somehow, and Prabhupada tells that story, Prabhupada said, I didn't understand why my father was so disrespectful to them. And Prabhupada said, these are sannyasis, you have to come. So the culture, he also knew the culture is I have to go, so the father went. And then they started to give lecture, and at some point, Gaur Mohan just fell on the ground and paid full dandavats, and he was crying. And he was holding the feet of the sannyasi. He said, I'm so sorry, I thought you were a Mayavad sannyasi. So he was also externally, many sannyasis at that time. He probably didn't see many of the Vaishnava sannyasis because Bhaktisiddhanta only established Vaishnava sannyas. Before there was mainly Mayavad sannyasis. And as soon as he heard them speaking, he understood these are Shuddha Bhaktas, they speak pure devotional philosophy. And he immediately apologized for his offense. Why this comes to my mind? Because this point of culture that made him understand that here is a sadhu, and he didn't offend him because he started to listen. In Vedic culture means we give respect to a sadhu, we sit down and we listen. And of course, if we come across a sadhu who looks externally like a sadhu, we can also listen, but if it's nonsense, we can also ignore it. Because this happens sometimes, that we've come across Mayavadis in India maybe, and we have to pay them respect, but we have to also be careful.
About this, our group and pure devotees, the pure devotees are beyond rules and regulation because they have the pure conscience, pure heart. The rules and regulations on the Vedas is to purify our hearts.
Yes.
The neophytes don't have the pure heart. Like a person that broke in the neck, these people need make physiotherapy, exercises to get again the health of the member. But one person that they have the legs or the arm health don't need to make physiotherapy.
Yes. Yes.
Because the pure devotees have the pure conscience. Every time in 24 hours they are Krishna in our heart. Yes, everything externally is consequence, but internally it's totally correct, totally clear. But our no, we need it. We are diseased. We need it. The rules and regulations. Take this medicine. And if you buy angry, we imitate it. Pure devotee. Oh, this is the normal. Yes, I was lost. Yes, we fall down.
Yes.
So we are diseased.
Yeah, good example how when somebody broke an arm, then we have to do some special exercises, but one who is healthy doesn't have to do that. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I was expecting Yamuna.
I had a because he was silent the whole life, and his king was not offending him directly, but actually indirectly. He said something and suddenly he began to speak. Like, why is that? Because his motive was to not offend you.
Yeah. I would have to speculate. As you could see, I don't know the pastime in detail. Maybe if you read it, you can find some hint why he started to speak. Maybe could be that he made. What's definitely the case is that he didn't want to speak to protect himself, because he was on a very elevated stage, and just before attaining perfection he fell down. He had a fall down, a minor fall down. So then he just made a resolution: I'm not gonna speak to anyone, so that this chance of falling into Maya is reduced considerably. But then the Lord is in the heart of everyone, and definitely of Chada Bharat. So sometimes we make a resolution, we take a vow, but then the Lord comes and asks us to break that for a higher purpose. Gorky Shodas Babaji asked Bhaktisiddhanta to follow 3 vows: to not take disciples, to not go to Calcutta, and to no disciples, not Calcutta, and something else. And he accepted disciples.
Maybe not engage with material persons.
Maybe that, yeah. And he took disciples, he went to Calcutta, he lived in Calcutta maybe most of his life. And of course he said he didn't break that instruction, but in a way he externally broke it for a higher purpose. So that would be my answer, that Krishna is in his heart, and he took niyamagraha. No, we are not just blindly following rules and regulations. That, I took the vow of not speaking, but if there is a higher principle, that here is a king who might benefit from me speaking Krishna consciousness, then let me speak. Because he's a king, if he becomes Krishna conscious, so many people will benefit. So that might be one reason why he started to speak. Okay, we have
Just one point.
a comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gogovinda Maharaj is saying, we can only recognize the sadhu by hearing, and we cannot see how elevated he is. But he's saying also that what we can see is Vaishnava qualities, when he's like drinking illicit sex and so on. And like when we obviously see this, we should also not go into the other direction. Oh, he's like so pure, he's everything that he's a pure devotee. But when we see these Vaishnava qualities, then we have to judge for ourselves that it's not one of us.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's me. What Mark Krishna Prabhu said, no, these descriptions are there for us to intellectually. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you all. Have a nice day. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to Davadutas Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees Ki Jai.